over to you, Keiron.
Perfect. Okay, so my name's Keiron. I work for the Field Studies Council, and about six and a half years ago, I developed a project for them for a lottery bid. No, it was about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, the FSC Biolinks project. So I'll just explain what that is for those that aren't familiar, and then I'll let you know what we've got coming up. We do usually deliver some training in Berkshire, and I do hope to do that next year, but we haven't actually got any of it scheduled yet. I need to speak to the British Entomological and Natural History Society, but we've still got opportunities that are within travel distance, and we've got online opportunities as well. So for those who aren't aware of the Field Studies Council, we're an environmental education charity with field centres across the UK. Our bread and butter is schools and then universities, but we also do training and provide publications for adult amateur naturalists and professionals. So we've got our centres across the UK. We've also got the publications that we produce, and the ones that people may be familiar with are fold-out guides, which you get in nature reserves, etc., across the country. But we also have our aid gaps, which are aids to the identification of difficult groups of animals and plants. And we produce the Royal Entomological Society handbooks and the Linnaean Society synopses, as well as distribution atlases for the Biological Record Centre. In addition to that, we're quite passionate about biological recording, and we've had a number of different funded projects where we've tried to support and even improve the biological recording sector, and that's all culminating in the FSC Biolinks project, which is funded by the Field Studies Council and the Heritage Lottery Fund. So Biolinks has an invertebrate focus. We focus on invertebrate groups that are difficult to identify and under-recorded. So we don't do butterflies and moths, I'm afraid, because they're comparatively well recorded. And we provide lots of training opportunities with regards to these. So 2022, what have we got coming up? So we've got a few things that I'd like to mention that are relevant to people in Berkshire and Oxfordshire. We've got our Natural History Live virtual talk series, which we've been running for around 2 years now, nearly 2 years. And that's a series of webinars, virtual talks. It's going to finish in around April next year. But we've got, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but they're all free to attend and accessible via Zoom. You just need to book so that you get the details. We've also got, and this is new since I last spoke at a TVERC conference, our online training course program. So when COVID hit, we developed our own Moodle online training platform, and we deliver online training courses about invertebrates. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We've got our West Midlands and South East training course programs. The West Midlands is a little less relevant, I think, to Berkshire and Oxfordshire. The majority of our training is delivered in London at our Bushy Park site, but we also do residential courses down at Juniper Hall in Surrey, and we deliver training, 1 day training courses, 1 or 2 day training courses at Dinton Pastures in partnership with the British Entomological and Natural History Society, and I'm hoping that we can resume them next year if Ben's are happy to open up their classrooms again. It's not all about training though. We provide other opportunities for biological recorders. We've got our field recorder days. We've traditionally run 1 a year at Dinton Pastures in partnership with TVERC, and I do plan on chatting to them about resuming that for next year. These are opportunities for both well-established and new biological recorders to come along, and it's basically a BioBlitz on site without all of the family activities. So it's all about recording, and it's a chance for those new recorders to absorb all that knowledge from the more established and experienced recorders, as well as producing a species list for the site on the day. Our field recorder days tend to have an invertebrate focus, or at least the part that we're involved in, but sometimes they do have a wider focus than that. And we recognise that not all experience is gained through formal training courses. So down in Bushy Park, we have our invertebrate volunteer ID days, which are quite similar to the Ben's open days that they have at their facilities, and we little bit of a difference is, though, as well as making our facilities open, we also provide a number of volunteer activities, which I'll mention later. And I'm not going to talk any more about this today, but I've got a mini pilot project that I've got to do next year as well, which I'm yet to actually design the details of, but we're going to look at doing some invertebrate ID assessment days. So giving recorders that opportunity to test their skills and come away with something saying they've got a certain level of competence. I will stress that it will be a pilot project. It will be experimental. We'll be seeing what we can do and seeing if that's something that can be taken forward in the future. So if anybody's got any ideas or would like to be involved in that, then please do let me know, because I'm keen to start developing that soon. So to go through those different aspects, what have we got coming up for 2022? Well, our Natural History Lives have an invertebrate focus, with one exception you might see at the top there, and I just couldn't resist getting a talk from the Seahorse Society on seahorses in the UK. I know it might not be that relevant to people in Berkshire and Oxfordshire, but I think it will be a wonderful talk. Yeah, we've also got the fish one following that as well. But apart from that, the rest have an invertebrate focus. So going down, we've got the A to Z of bee flies, with a recorder that will be familiar to many of you in the region, and that's with Martin Harvey. That's in February. All of these will be available to book in the near future, and they'll all be free. We'll be taking the bookings through Eventbrite, and I can I'll give you details of how to sign up to be notified of that later on. We've got monitoring endangered species of beetles using pheromone lures, which I think is going to be super popular. We've got polling the pollinators taking part in the UK pollinators monitoring scheme. We've got a talk from Mark Hodson, who is based at Reading University. Or Reading, maybe he was Reading and now is York, I can't remember. But Mark will be talking about whether you can use earthworms to indicate healthy soil. And this is going to be quite an interesting talk, because it goes against the grain of what a lot of people are doing. But it's based on a paper that he released earlier this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anybody who knows me knows that earthworms are my thing. And then finally, we've got soldier flying allies. So one Martin Harvey talk simply wasn't enough for us this year. We've got him coming back to talk about his recording scheme. So he'll be explaining to us what soldier flies are and how you can record them. So those talks are all free. I'll drop a link in the chat at the end about where you can sign up to our biodiversity newsletter, where you can be notified about them when they are available to book, which will be in the not too distant future, I promise. We're in the process of getting all that set up now. So we've also got our online training courses, and for anybody who hasn't been on one of the Biolinks online training courses, I really want to stress that these are not just more click-through courses. So I've been on quite a few online courses that I don't really rate, if I'm honest. They're clicking through a presentation or just reading text. They're not, quite often they can be lazy, I would say, and not overly engaging. So we wanted to do something that was a lot more than that. We wanted to try and replicate as best we could the learning that we do in our place-based or our in-person courses. So they all include the usual study content, including text, images, videos, and further info links. So exactly what you'd get on that click-through course. But they also include automatically graded quiz-style activities to check your learning as you go. And again, I know that's not really breaking the mold, you get a lot of that, but it's the second two bits, I think, where these courses really come alive. So in addition to all of that, we have tutor-graded assignments that usually involve undertaking field activities. So an example might be on my Discovering Earthworms course, I send people out to dig a soil pit in their garden, look at all the earthworms they find and categorize them into different ecological groupings, and then report their findings back. And then we collate the information from all the students and present that in a live interactive Zoom webinar at the end of the week. So most of our online training courses are 4 weeks, 4 weeks in length, and you get a module each week. So I'll just show you what the platform looks like. So one module on the platform, which will unlock weekly, will look like this. And you can see down the left-hand side, we've got those numbered components. And on the right-hand side, you've got tick boxes that will get ticked as you complete them. So you work through them in your own time during the week. With the tutor, the assignment there would be ticked off as the tutor grades it. And then we've got the live webinar that we deliver at the end of the week, where we'll reflect on the week, we add in some new stuff and give people a chance to ask questions. For people that can't attend the live webinars, we record them and make them available through the platform afterwards as well. So the study content, this is just a snapshot from our upcoming. So this is an exclusive. Nobody outside of my team has ever seen this. So if there are any errors in there, it hasn't been reviewed by a specialist tutor yet. So bear with us. But this gives you an idea of the type of content that we put in. So again, I kind of want to stress that these are for beginners, but they do go into quite a bit of depth. So they are detailed courses. And the assignments that I mentioned, this is an example from one of our students, Nicole. It's her week 4 assignment on discovering beetles, where she was asked to find a beetle, make notes about the things that she found, and submit it. So this is her example assignment. Not all of them, you don't necessarily have to go into this much detail, but yeah, I wanted to showcase this one because I think it's a fabulous example. A simpler example on my earthworm course, one assignment that I have is for people to go out and look for field signs of earthworms and submit an image of one of those field signs to show that they've observed earthworms in their natural environment. So here we've got a cocoon and an earthworm midden. So what have we got coming up? Well, our Discovering iRecord course was really popular last year, and I've had quite a few requests for it to be repeated. So this is the only one that is actually now open for bookings. I opened it yesterday. It's on the link that I'll share at the end, and it's just £20 for the 4-week course, and it goes into loads of depth. It's a bit different from most of our other online courses in that it has loads of mini assignments rather than big ones. I tutor this one myself, and my promise to people is that by the end of it, you may not be an iRecord expert, but you'll at least feel comfortable with using the platform. And it's not all, the assignments are not all about telling us about iRecord or anything like that. We do actually, by the end of it, you will have submitted several records, because that's included within the assignments. We'll also be repeating the courses that we've done this year. So the courses that we created this year were Discovering Beetles, Discovering Bees. That was followed on by Field Identification of Bumblebees, and we've got Discovering Earthworms. So all of those will be scheduled in. If you're interested in any of these specifically, then you can drop an email to us and we'll put you on a waiting list for them. Again, they're all available at a subsidised rate of £20 for these 4-week courses, which is an absolute steal. We're currently teaching bee nesting, ecology and conservation, which is our first ever short course. It's just a 2-week course, and we will be repeating that as well. After each run of the course, we review the course and update it as well. So anybody booking next year will get a slightly improved version as well, based on the feedback from the first year. And like I said, we've got Discovering Spiders that is in development. I'm currently going through the content. We'll then put it through an expert on spiders, and then we'll be launching that for next year. We're also partway through developing Field ID of spiders, which will focus on distinctive spiders that you can ID in the field to either species or family level. So training courses, I'm not going to say too much about this because I can see I'm running out of time, and a lot of the program is still in development, but the types of courses we'll have will be our Learn to Love courses, which are aimed at absolute beginners, and we do them at a wide range of sites across London and the South East. They cover subjects like earthworms, slugs and snails, beetles, bees, true bugs, ants, things like that. And they're basically the in-person version of our Discovering courses, although understandably within a 1-day course, it's a bit more limited what we can teach. We're going on for that. We've got our ID courses. So we've got our Field ID courses that provide guidance on easier to identify species that you can deal with in the field. And we've got our more complex microscope ID courses, which cover the difficult to identify groups. Our microscope ID courses have been extremely well received. They book up quite quickly. So if anybody's wanting to book on these, I highly recommend signing up to our newsletter so that you get notified first of all. And I'm planning on putting a discount code in there for people signed up to the newsletter. So you'd normally get these for a tenner for a day, but you'll get them for a £5 with the discount code. And yeah, we really can't do any better than that, I think. We'll also have some residential courses to give people the option to attend all of the above over one intensive but extremely fun weekend. So those will be getting announced, all of those, before the end of the year, over the next couple of weeks through our newsletter. So to give you an idea of how these all fit together, it's not just loads of really nice courses. They're all part of structured training plans. So this was the 2020 Beetle ID training plan for Biolinks that never was. It was all cancelled after I promoted it at the Coleopters Day in Oxfordshire at the beginning of the year. But this is kind of what we're trying to achieve. We want to give a journey for people all the way through, and we want to make sure that we've got options for people that are at all levels. So we do provide training at quite a higher and advanced level, as well as the beginner stuff. If you're really keen to get started, I'm going to shamelessly plug the earthworm courses because we've got them next week. We've got 2 taking part at Bushy Park. So if you want to learn how to identify earthworms, this course is a tenner, but I'm giving away free copies of the books to anybody that attends. And the book is £7.50 or £8.50. So really you're getting it for the price of £1, £2.50. And that's a full day of training at Bushy Park. We've got 2 dates back to back. That's because we've got 3 ID days afterwards where we're going to be working through some specimens that were being collected on other events. Those events are our field recorder days. I mentioned those briefly earlier, what they are. This is just a note to tell you that they will be coming up. These are all free to attend. This is a photo from Dinton Pastures. I do plan on going back there, but we fit the field recorder days in after we've got the ID courses all set up, because we kind of like to time them around there. So they'll be coming soon as well. And I briefly mentioned our invertebrate volunteer ID days. So if you're new to recording and new to invertebrate ID and you'd like to get some practice, at the moment, the tasks that we've got for people to work on are identifying woodlice specimens from a bug life pitfall trapping project. We've got sorting and or identifying mixed terrestrial invertebrate samples from our previous field recorder day events. We need help carding, pinning and setting specimens that have been identified by other volunteers, and we need help producing some beetle teaching, collection and educational resources. All of that is done under guidance from our Biolinks team, and I'm pleased to announce that that won't just be me anymore, so there'll be expertise outside of earthworms in the room now as well. They're all free to attend. We've got loads of dates for this year that are already available for booking. The last one filled up as well, so if that's something you're interested in, then I recommend that. Although I do understand it's a bit of a trek into London. One other thing I wanted to mention was earlier this year we did our invertebrate conservation skills webinars. So we had a series of talks that were specifically aimed at people that work or manage sites for conservation. Invertebrates are quite often the group that get considered the least. So we wanted a series of talks, virtual talks, that kind of filled that skills gap. Now, all of these have been recorded and they're all available on our YouTube channel. So if you did miss them, then they're available there. And we're currently working on putting web pages together for each of those that has all of the additional links, the Q&As from the sessions, etc. So again, sign up to our newsletter to be notified of when that's all available, although the videos are on the FSC Biodiversity YouTube channel. So anything I'm talking about, you want the FSC Biodiversity YouTube channel, not the Field Studies Council YouTube channel. And just to finish off, I just thought I'd mention a couple of things from my colleagues. So I'm not the only person that works at the Field Studies Council. We do other stuff that's relevant to TVERC's recorders. So we've had 4 publications that have come out this year that I think are worth a mention. We've got the freshwater snails of Britain and Ireland, which I blagged a free copy of from our publications department. And it's probably not going to show up because of the blurring, but it's an absolutely gorgeous book, really comprehensive. And the keys, quite unlike anything I've seen before, I really enjoy it. So that's a great resource. We've got one on sphagnum mosses, we've got a key on grasses, and Olga Savell produced the Royal Entomological Society handbook on blowflies. And then finally, my colleagues in what we call the Eco Skills team are producing online courses as well. So these are not Biolinks courses, so they are quite often available subsidised for 18 to 25-year-olds, but apart from that, they normally are full price. But just a couple of examples here outside of the invertebrate stuff that my colleagues are working on. We've got fungi field skills and conservation of marine mammals. And on that note, last thing, the sign up. So to sign up to our newsletter, it's www.fscbiodiversity.uk sign up. And I will drop that link in the chat, and I'll drop the link for our current courses and events as well. And Steve, I think that is me done with the presentation.
Thanks for that, Keiron. That's good running to time as well. I think if you stick that in the chat, I think you'll get quite a few people signing up. It looks quite a good set of courses and all sorts of things you've got planned. So
yeah, and we've started doing a lot of exclusive discounts even for the other stuff that Biolinks doesn't do as well. I've been really pushing for it with my colleagues because there's so many great opportunities, and I understand that some people need that little bit extra off. I was one of those people for many years, so yeah, there'll be lots of I'm hoping a discount in every letter, in every newsletter, and they go out every 2 weeks. So yeah, please do sign up.
Excellent. We had a couple of questions come through on the chat. Probably the first one, with your online training, I guess, does that mean there are some limits on the number of students you can take on, particularly with the tutor? Well,
actually, my colleagues want to limit it more than I do. So all of the eco skills courses they're set to 60. So they're online at 60. But I'm pushing my team to get as many people through the Biolinks ones as possible. And my reason for that is that we have a bit more resource. We're able to support our tutors and the courses a lot more. We're all invertebrate people ourselves, so we can help with the assignment grading, etc. So I'm actually accepting over 200 on each one. Our bee nesting ecology and conservation has 225 people on it. So yeah, so there's plenty of opportunity to get involved. I doubt that they'll fill up. The biggest limit is if we go too far with the numbers, it might affect the live webinars. But for example, with Discovering iRecord, I'm repeating it at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. so that I can split the audience, so we can have a lot of people on that. I want to get as many people through these while Biolinks is running as possible, because once Biolinks stops, these courses will most likely continue, but they'll go from being £20 to being 60, possibly more. So yeah, if you're interested in these, next year is the year to do them if you don't want to pay the premium.
Okay, good insight. Thank you. Alison asked how, I guess when you're doing some of the field recording, how do those records get shared with us?
So we do share them with TVERC. I'm not sure. Well, with the TVERC one, actually TVERC have collated the data rather than us. So we've just went along and helped out. We do work with TVERC. I know we haven't had a lot of contact over the past couple of years because we've been doing online training rather than actually out in the field recording. It is a core aim of the project to make sure that all our records are shared. So one thing I will make sure I do before the project finishes is make sure that all of the records are submitted to all of the record centres. But all of our recording is done through iRecord. So am I right in thinking, Steve, that TVERC do take the records off iRecord?
Yes, so we do take some from iRecord. Ellen's our best expert on exactly which bits we take.
Yeah, but they're all getting logged there. But we actually work with TVERC to analyse the data as well. And in order for us to do that, we need to make sure they've got the data. So that's something that we'll be making sure we're on top of for next year.
Yeah, I can confirm that we do pick up the FSC Biolinks data from iRecord every year.
There we go, brilliant. So that's the beauty. This is why I love iRecord. It automates things and makes sharing things a bit easier. But I'm happy to download it and forward it on to any record centres within the regions that we work that don't engage with iRecord anyway. So yeah, either way, your records will always get, we hope, to the recording scheme and the record centre. That's my personal promise.
Excellent. Thank you, Keiron. And one last question. we can see you've put some really good effort into making these online courses work. Have you got any sort of insights into what you think the pros and cons are of trying to do this training online?
Well, I mean, one of the big cons is that as a tutor, it's very difficult to give that one-on-one support with a lot of the invertebrate groups that we do. So I think there's big limitations in the ID with invertebrate stuff. So yes, we can do field ID of spiders and field ID of bumblebees to a certain extent, but only with really distinctive species. I've personally stayed away from trying to adapt any microscope courses online because I personally don't think it will really work. A pro is that Biolinks is no longer a regional project. We've been able to reach people across the country and with numbers that we just couldn't fathom. I mean, the fact that we've got 235 people on our, or 225 people, sorry, on our bee nesting ecology and conservation course is amazing. If I did that course at a venue with one tutor, I wouldn't normally go above 15 to make sure that people are getting the attention they need. So yeah, there are pros and cons, and there's the Discovering iRecord course is the only course we have online that doesn't have a version that we deliver in a venue, and that's because it's so heavily digitally focused anyway. But yeah, all of our others have that in-person version. So, and different people learn in different ways, so I think you need both.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Keiron, and thanks very much for your presentation. I think that's really